Welcome to the Explainer. I'm so thrilled you're here. If you've ever stared at a blank page or a blinking cursor, just kind of wondering how to turn a jumble of thoughts into clear, impactful writing, well, you're absolutely in the right place. Today, I'm going to act as your learning strategist to totally demystify English sentence construction. We're taking this step by step. We'll take concepts you might have vaguely heard of and break them down so simply that you'll never feel intimidated by grammar again. No dense academic jargon here, I promise. Just the core theories explained simply so you can communicate your ideas with absolute confidence.
So, here's our game plan for this explainer. First, sentence building blocks. Then, the 4 sentence functions. Next, the 4 sentence structures. Followed by choosing the right tone, creating sentence variety, and finally, we'll wrap up with the essential takeaways. Basically, we're building a house today, starting right from the foundation.
All right, Section 1, Sentence Building Blocks. Let's lay down the absolute basics of our construction project.
I want to present this concept slowly, almost as if you're seeing it for the very first time. Everything in English writing comes down to the clause. So what's a clause? Think of it simply as a group of words put together to make one complete thought. That's really it. It's not some grand mystery, it's just a single complete idea. This right here is our fundamental unit. It's the concrete slab our whole communication is built on. Without a complete thought, well, you don't really have a sentence, do you? You just have a pile of scattered bricks.
Now, what actually goes into that complete thought? The absolute most common pattern in English, think of it as the mortar holding our bricks together, is the subject-verb-object structure, or SVO for short. Let's break it down. Step 1 is the subject. That's the person, place, or thing doing the action. Let's use she. Step 2 is the verb, which is the action itself. Let's go with eats. And step 3 is the object, the noun receiving the action. Apples. Put it together, she eats apples. It sounds incredibly simple, right? But starting with these SVO sentences lets you express actions and ideas with crystal clear clarity. Honestly, once you master this base pattern, you can build just about anything.
Moving right along to Section 2, 4 sentence functions. We've got our foundation, so let's look at the blueprint and figure out the actual purpose of these sentences we're building.
According to Grammarly, there are 4 primary functions a sentence can actually perform. First up, we have declarative sentences. These are your everyday statements of fact or opinion. Something like, bears don't eat when they hibernate. They do the heavy lifting in everyday communication, and they always end in a period. Second are interrogative sentences. Fancy word, but they're literally just questions. They're requesting information and end in a question mark, like, who's knocking at the door? Third, we've got imperative sentences. These issue commands or requests. Think of, do the job. And fourth, exclamatory sentences. These express strong emotion, maybe shock, pride, anger, and they end with an exclamation mark, like, you saved our wedding. Honestly, punctuation is your best clue here. It tells you exactly what job the sentence was hired to do.
So, we know how to form a single thought, right? And we know the purpose that thought can serve. But here's the real question. How do we combine these individual thoughts to build something larger? How do we take that single brick and turn it into an entire architectural structure?
Well, that brings us to Section 3, 4 sentence structures. Let's see how all this builds into the 4 main structures of the English language. This is where your writing levels up from basic to professional.
The first structure is the simple sentence. And, just like the name implies, it's pretty simple. It contains exactly one independent clause. Now remember, an independent clause is a complete thought that can stand completely on its own. It's like a sturdy, freestanding wall. Take the sentence, today is my only day off this week. It delivers the info concisely, and it doesn't need any extra words propping it up.
Next, we step things up to the compound sentence. This is where we take 2 of those sturdy, independent walls and stick them together. And to do this, we use grammatical superglue, specifically coordinating conjunctions. You might actually remember the acronym fanboys from school: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Let's look at an example. I buy my bread already made. That's a complete thought. I don't know how to bake. Also a complete thought. We join them with a comma and the word so, and boom. I buy my bread already made, so I don't know how to bake. Now you've got a compound structure.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Introducing dependent clauses. I want you to think of a dependent clause like a decorative, non-load-bearing wall. It adds fantastic detail, sure, but if you took the rest of the house away, it would just fall right over. It literally cannot stand on its own. So, a complex sentence has at least one independent clause, that's our sturdy wall, plus at least one dependent clause. For instance, because I was tired, I went to bed.
You see how because I was tired isn't a complete thought by itself? It needs the rest of the sentence. Finally, we have the compound complex sentence. This is the mansion. It has 2 or more independent clauses, plus at least 1 dependent clause. Getting comfortable mixing these structures is exactly what makes your writing feel mature and intelligent.
Moving to Section 4, choosing the right tone. Because a house really isn't a home until it's decorated properly for the occasion, right? You definitely wouldn't put cheap lawn chairs in a formal dining room. So let's talk about formal versus informal English. Have you ever sent an email to your boss or a client and then instantly panicked, worrying it sounded a bit too blunt or casual? Yeah, we've all been there. Using the appropriate register is absolutely crucial. Informal English, that's for WhatsApp, text threads, and friends. Formal English is for essays, reports, and professional emails. Let's look at an example. Telling your boss the meeting was absolutely bonkers uses casual slang that just doesn't fit the office vibe. Translating that to the meeting was very poorly organized conveys the exact same critique, but it uses a neutral, professional vocabulary. Makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
So a really crucial point is this rule drawn straight from our IELTS writing sources. It states, as a rule, contractions should be avoided in formal English writing. Now, while it's perfectly fine to say I'll or don't when you're just chatting out loud, in formal, academic, or business writing, you really want to expand those out. Write, I will explain the results instead of I'll explain the results. It's a tiny, tiny tweak, but I promise you, it instantly elevates the perceived authority of your text.
Another massive part of nailing a formal tone is politeness, and specifically indirectness. Direct commands can honestly seem highly aggressive in written English, even if you don't mean them to be. Take a look at this informal example. Give me the documents by tomorrow. Wow, it sounds like an order from a dictator, right? But look at the formal version. Could you please send me the documents by tomorrow? See what happened there? By framing the request as an indirect question and just adding the word please, you sound vastly more professional, respectful, and collaborative.
All right, Section 5, creating sentence variety. Our house is built, the interior is decorated. Now let's go landscape the yard and talk about the rhythm or the music of your writing.
Consider this brilliant piece of advice from author Gary Prost. He wrote this example to show exactly what we're talking about. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. See how boring that gets? But then he changes it up and says, now listen, I vary the sentence length, and I create music. The writing sings. A sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of the drums, the crash of the cymbals. It's amazing. Using sentences of the exact same length over and over again literally puts your reader to sleep. You've got to vary the rhythm.
So here's how you can act as the composer for your own writing. First, actively mix simple and complex structures. That contrast captures the eye and keeps the reader engaged. Second, use short, punchy sentences. These are great to build excitement, state facts clearly, or deliver a strong conclusion. They're direct, bam. Third, lean into those longer, complex sentences when you want to vividly describe a scene, or maybe meanderingly explore a nuanced idea. And finally, always balance your sentence lengths based on your genre. A highly technical report is naturally going to favor shorter, clearer sentences, while a novel, well, that gives you plenty of room to stretch out and get lyrical.
And that brings us to Section 6, Essential Takeaways. Let's do one final walkthrough of our construction site and distill everything we've learned today down to its absolute essence.
At the beginning, I promised you 3 core takeaways as your learning strategist, and here they are. Number 1, master the foundation. Start your thoughts with that reliable subject-verb-object pattern to ensure absolute clarity. Get that concrete poured properly. Number 2, mind your decor. Always adapt your tone, shifting between formal and informal vocabulary depending on exactly who your audience is. Remember to ditch the slang and contractions in professional settings. And number 3, be the composer. Consciously vary your sentence lengths to create an engaging musical rhythm that keeps your reader's eye effortlessly moving down the page.
You now have the building blocks to form ideas, the structures to link them together, and the rhythm to really make them sing. Writing doesn't have to be intimidating, it's just a process of placing one carefully chosen brick on top of another. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. What kind of music will your next sentence make? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take these tools, get out there, and go write something absolutely brilliant today.